All right, so we're going to talk about unwrapping and how to do it for our trim sheets. Now, with unwrapping with trim sheets, there's a little bit of a dance involved. There's some thoughts you need to go through. There's a different way you can do this, but for this time around, we're just going to do it in the simplest form we can. Right now, I have three pieces. There's this piece, there's the engine, and then there's the cargos. So I'm just going to do the big ship piece first, and then maybe I'll come back and do the other ones in a speed run or something. But for now, this is what you're going to do this week. Oops, there we go. So what you need to think about is what you want to tile when you're using these things, where you're going to use your trim sheet. So sometimes the easiest way to figure that out is to just bring up your material editor. Oops, not your animation editor. Throw a material on it, which I already have, and take your diffuse color and take a general bitmap, and then we're going to go grab the trim render from the trim we just finished, and we're going to show it on this object. Okay. So let me turn this off, and this is what we can see. Obviously our unwrap is all kind of whack, so let's take a look at our unwrap here. Looks like I might have started it. Yours is probably going to be more like, let's just do this. No, let's do planar. Who knows? It's going to be all whack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this stuff out of the way first, and then turn off my old-fashioned one. And I'm going to grab parts that I know work. Or what we could do is we could do a mapping, flat mapping, and then change it to maybe 50 degrees. The bigger the angle, the bigger your pieces are going to be, but the more distorted they have a chance to be. But you know, it's about getting something usable, because we're going to have to redo a bunch of this. There's no really fast and easy way to do this, but now that we've done that, you can start to see our trim sheets actually look interesting on there. So let me pull this up and make it bigger. I should probably record on two screens so you guys can see this on two screens like I usually do it, but okay. So I'm going to take this and turn on my 15 degrees, and I'm going to start grabbing pieces. These pieces right here, for example, I'll just do a quick lightning bolt. And then we'll grab these pieces here. I'm just kind of separating out the pieces that work together more than anything, so I can organize them. I'm just trying to organize what I have here so I can move that out of the way. I'm not worried about the scale it makes them. We've done this before. I can grab this piece here, and maybe this piece, and this piece, and this piece, oops, and this piece. I'll do this. And after a while, you'll start to get, you know what, let's do this in a Z. There. After a while, you'll start to get stuff looking right. I guess we could have done these too. You'll start to get ideas of where you're going to put stuff. Now, the thing about trim sheets is there's a couple ways to do them. We could do them the way we're doing them now, which is the way you're going to do them for right now. Or you could have these pre-made trim sheets that you've used on other projects or whatever, and then you're going to pull them up as needed and then reuse them. I'm going to grab all of these for now. But we don't have that many trim sheets right now, and I didn't want to make custom trim sheets and unwrap and break it out, and unwrap and break it out as we go for this round. So I just wanted to make you aware of how it could work. And this is the wrong direction. Let's see if they pick something. No, it's not bad. Okay. Another thing you'll see is a lot of the stuff I've made is, let's change this to 20. There we go. Is repeating, and that's important too. And for this round of it anyway, it's going to be easier for you guys to unwrap. You all to unwrap. I was thinking, you know, I could do it like an engine, you would do it for an engine or a pre-product or whatever, but we just want to get this done so you understand it. There's so much to go over as I'm looking through this. I will tell you, this is like the 4th time I've recorded this because I wanted to do it one way, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really think that's a good way to teach you, and then I've come back and done it again and again. And, you know, and it's interesting if I look at the way that they used to do it and I look at the way they do it now, I have to hack some stuff together, which is kind of what I like to do anyway, figure out tricks. But I didn't expect it to be as irritating, I don't know if it's the right word, but workful, trying to figure out how to get this to work. I'm just going to try and grab most of the bottom here. We're going to probably do this in one base color eventually. This one here. Okay. So, you know what, we'll just grab this one too. We'll just get it all. And then this, and it's probably diagonal, so we'll just change it to Z. Okay. Now, what a lot of times will do is move these out of the way. If I move those out of the way, then I can, you know, have things in the middle that don't disrupt everything I'm working on. Like, I don't know why that one's selected. Very interestingly. Oh, because it was over here. Okay. So let's take a look where I was thinking about putting stuff. And now that I know what my trim sheet looks like, and here I can even put it in here by grabbing it. One thing you might want to do is turn this up to 100% brightness, so just 1.0 because it's a float. And then take these guys, maybe turn off the angle here, and figure out if I want to put a grid or something on there. Maybe not that one. A grate, I mean. So I'm going to look over here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go from Z top, so it gives me a nice top. And then I'm going to take a turn on it and look at it and see. Actually, I guess I should just rotate it. And look and see what we got. Now, funny enough, it fits right over the top of this, but that's really not what we want, right? We want to have, let me turn off the F2. I want this grate or this grate somewhere. So what I might do is say that these two grates, break it apart. And I might want to come back and cut some of these up. We're not going to do that at this point, but you know, that's the kind of thing you're thinking about as you're building these. So I'm going to take this one, which looks like a perfect place for a grate, and I'm going to throw it on top of here. And I'll go to 2 just to grab that edge and say, perfect, please. Perfect. Oops, not that one. This one vertical, this one horizontal, and this one vertical line. And now I've got a nice almost set up thing inside of here, so I can grab this, drag it over a little bit, give it a little bit of room to breathe, put this back down. And one of the problems with this trim sheet is when I rendered it out, I did have it 4096, but when I rendered it out, I only rendered it out at 1024, so it's not getting the best quality of what we may want. Like this one right here, the one right next to it, I probably put grids all the way through here, but we're just going to fake it for now. If you want to cut up this model as you're working on it, you have more than welcome to. I just want to warn you that every time you cut something in Max, it messes up your smoothing groups. So you don't have to use smoothing groups. You can use smooth by angle and stuff, but I just want to give you a heads up on that before you do something that you're going to end up tweaking. You know, just make sure you're done before you do those smoothing groups. You know what you want. So I'm going to pull this up here. I'm just going to give it some plates in the back here so make my life a little bit easier. And then, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to take this piece. Actually, let me do this. I'm going to do a Z on it and then do a quick one, and then I'm going to rotate it. This one I'm going to put right here. and it's still too small, so I'm going to scale it up so it fits and it tiles. We're going to talk about the problems with the tiling stuff next week, or maybe this week, but you know, excuse me, if you see issues, you know, you can mess with it. So like right now, let me turn this back off. Grab objects here because I was separating these all out like that. There we go. Grab this one. Move it out of the way. Okay. Put these back on. And right now it's clipping right here, right? It's just probably not what we want, so we can just take these two and do that. And now it has those pieces there. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at this side stuff. Turn this off, or yeah, turn that off for now. Grab these side pieces. I'm going to grab them over here and figure out how I can use them best. So I'm going to rotate them. And then I'm going to so I'm going to take a look at these pieces and see if I can get them to fit on my, you know, I could do them one at a time. I could scale them. It's okay to scale them in some cases because it's just a box. They're pretty flat surfaces. I could give them gaps. I could actually see where that happens there. Pull this up a little bit, down. I could even take this edge, move it down here, and then take off this, grab this one. Why are you grabbing the whole thing? Oh, you're not. It's so weird. What am I looking at here? So weird. Huh. It's really being weird. I don't know what I'm looking at. This one makes sense, but this one does. All right, yeah, so this is being weird. So what I'm going to do is just going to convert, or actually I'm going to come up here. You don't want to convert to editable poly. The way you want to do it when you have it in a stack is you want to come over here and say collapse to. Collapse 2. Okay. Then we're going to come over to Unwrap EVW. And then we'll open the editor again and see if it's still being weird. I don't even... Here, let's do this. Bam. Yeah, for whatever reason, that one was stuck in it. So, okay, let's turn this on here. That. Again, you can come in and turn this off by default, so we'll say 1, and then we can come over and say OK, and then we go to options and say save current as default, and that'll help a little bit. Let's do this. So what we're looking at doing is just starting to put some of these things down. I'm hoping that you're seeing what's going on. We could do it this way, but really what I did see that I liked was this one. Okay. Like this. I was going to actually, funny enough, and you're going to find these happy accidents. I was going to do it stretching it all the way to here, but I kind of like that. And it's not an exact match. But since we're only going to use this for a specific purpose at this point, it's pretty good. Before it was better. Okay. Stop it. Okay, Photoshop's got me all messed up. Ryan told me the other day about their magical, we're going to change over the way we've been doing stuff for years, so you, and not tell you. And then that way you're confused. All right, so then look at this. This is just a mistake, but honestly, if it's just a machine, here, let me do a final. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm not real crazy about all this in here, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, so we'll get back to that in a minute, but what we're going to look at here is what else can we do. I'm going to use a lot of this for the big crates that we're going to put in there. I'm not real crazy about this, believe it or not. It kind of works. Interestingly, figure out what that is. Yep, see all this little stuff down here. It's kind of crazy. No. Oh my gosh. A pain in the katukas. I'm gonna do this. This will be big. And it does take a little time. So be prepared to spend a little time doing this. What we may do for this one is get it small enough that we get something like this. Yeah. So I'm going to take all of these. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this one and do this just to straighten it out. Again, when you do this at home, it'll be easier if you do the UVs on a different screen. I usually actually, when I'm UVing, I put my model up on a different screen and then my UVs on the main screen I'm working in. Trying to figure out. So I'm going to stretch this one up a bit. I'm going to grab this edge again. Flatten it out. I'm going to deselect this one, break this one, and then move it down on top of itself over here, like that. There we go. If you want to see something, what you can do too is you can go back to your material editor, and you can do general, normal bump. Let me close this. Normal, general, bitmap, and then we'll do the normal one here. I'll come to this. In theory, make sure. Yep. All I'm trying to do is make my normals show up here real quick. Oops. And what may need to be done is I may need to, here I'm going to close this. There we go. Change it to high quality. So we can start to see how the normals are going to look now. One of the problems you're going to see is that it's going to look very shiny or whatever, and that's just because of the default, the way normals are set up. And we can change this back to 30, and so they're not as bad. So if we turned this one off, we'd still see our normals. And for that reason, maybe I'll take them off of here. So I'm going to come back out and see how they don't match anyway. I'm going to turn this back on. Open up my UVs. And there's a natural break for this edge right here. Though weirdly, I do not know what's going on today. Let me not show final. There we go. I don't know why I could select that one over there. I'm going to break this one and move it off. I'm going to take these two edges and lock them down and then do this. Actually, I'll scale the whole thing. There we go. Here, let's try this one more time. Wait, it's not what I selected. Man, it is. Oh, maybe it is. Okay, so let's do this. Boom, and actually we'll do it from Z. So it's a straight, and then we'll try and rotate it. Now it's perfectly set up. What I do sometimes to get them out of the way, instead of turn this on and off, is I'll just take this edge and I'll say break, and then instead of just dragging it down on top this way I know it seams correctly, is I'm going to do it this way. Now what I did is I just flipped them, and they should be close to mirroring. So in this case, I'm going to take these two, do this, these two, do this, and then this one needs to be the same thing. So now you can see that right there, it's a little bit off, but that's okay, because it's going to be over here. We're going to scale it down and maybe move it. Over here like this. There. See? Pretty good. I mean, we could pull this out a little bit more, like this edge here, or this edge here on one of them. I can do this edge. Oh, it's just this one. It's this one. No? And we can move this, you know, a little bit more even if you want. You know, you average them out. And it's going to be fine when we get down to it. Let me pull my material back up. I'm going to put this back to 50. And then, you know what we could do too, is because really what we're going to use this for is just the normal. Maybe the diffuse for an overlay, if you want to think of it that way, but it's not really going to be used for the way we're talking about it here. also thinking, so what's going on here is this is because I flipped it. So I'm going to unflip it now that it's lined up the way I like. I'm going to do this and flip it again. And see how now they all match up? And all I have to do is move this one, move this one up a little bit to match a little bit better. Okay. All right, so let's turn that map back on. I'll put it up here. Okay, so now we see that. Now I have this piece right here that we've decided to keep as one, and I'm going to go ahead and do this again to it and then rotate it. Now, what I'm going to look at here is figure out what I want next to this big turbine that's coming out. If I unhide all, you'll see. Remember, that's, whoa. Looks like I lost my turbine. Oh, it's there. It's just show. Okay. So weird. I used to have it sticking out. So. Oh, I think it's black. How weird. I'm going to just throw. It's like it's. Huh. Let me just make a new material for it here. And. I'm sorry, I'm doing this off screen, but all I'm doing is taking this material right here, which I just made, and calling it turbine. For the lack of really knowing what it is, it's just a visual thing. Okay, so if we click off here, we can see there. All right, I don't know why, unless because it hasn't been unwrapped, and that's probably what's going on. If I do this one, it shouldn't go black like that. Interestingly, it does. So what I'm going to do real quick on this one is just do a UV unwrap and say open UV editor. So weird. It's working some of it, but like this being black makes no sense to me. Let me see what the map looks like. Yeah. Unless it's one other thing it could be. No, it's not inverted. So weird. Huh. Alright. Well, for now, I'm going to do this. And when I find a solution for it, if there's a change, it just could be the file I have is being stupid. I'll let you know. I'll do a video or something. Anyway, let's go back to the original. So we've got all this stuff set up. I'm going to hide everything but that object. And we're going to come back in here and we're going to start doing more of this stuff. So I'm going to look at this piece right here. This whole edge here. I'm going to do a 15 degree. I'm going to grab them all. I'm going to see if I can do it like this. And just do a quick bam, open the UV editor. Oh, we don't want it in Z. We want it in Y probably, coming towards us. Like this, yeah. And then I'm going to move them off a little bit. And sometimes you want to do this by hand because you want to keep them organized. And then what you could also do is I could do them off screen. It doesn't have to be in the center point if I'm tiling. If you know you're tiling, and it's funny because we didn't have this same kind of power before, but we do now. Meaning that when we couldn't throw things at first, it was more than 2 times, or second it was, first it was off the screen at all for the engine I worked with at a different studio. And then it was don't tile it more than 2 times because it couldn't handle it, but we aren't there anymore. So I'm going to take one of these figure out what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for this. This is all I'm going to do. In reality, what I probably would do is a bunch of these little ones I do as separate pieces. If I do these as separate, it's easier for me to tile them instead of doing what I'm doing right now, which in this case is going to be like this. See that cut right there? It doesn't need to be there. It could be over here. I don't remember why I put it there originally, but let's talk about fixing that in a second. We'll take a look at this one and see if it's the same way. That's upside down, so let's do this. We can scale it a little bit. Again, this doesn't need to be set up like that, so. But one of the things you might want to look at is how this one's bigger than this one. Something we may want to address, but let's just do this first. Scale this down, and it's big again. Okay. So, like, this one's cut pretty good, okay? This one's cut in the wrong spot, and I'm looking to see if that needs to be there, and it doesn't. But it's going to cause problems with that. So what I'll do is I'll show you a couple little tricks. I'm going to keep the cuts to where they are, but then I'm going to add pieces in. And probably what I want, looking at this one, is it to be a little bit smaller. Give it a little bit of breathing room there to match the size of the other ones. Like that. Okay. And then make sure it's not upside down, which it looks like it might be, so I'll just do this. Move it over to here. Okay. So if that one, this one's a little higher, that's fine. So I'm going to come back and grab these other two as holes. Drag them over here, because this is our master that we're going to master our scale off of. So do one at a time here. Grab this. Oh, you suck. This one. Just make sure, really, that at this point it's the same width. And then this one. And needs to kind of be the same width too. Like that. See, happy accidents are okay. I think this one maybe too big. There we go. And then for whatever reason, okay, move this over a little bit, just like that. Okay, so really what I want is another one of these duplicating everywhere. So let's see what we can do. I'm gonna go over here, say not preserve view, custom attributes, which is funny that that's on, but that's not the problem. What are you doing? It's so weird that it's being weird. So I'm going to delete that. Take a look at it. See, collapse 2 is not selected. I don't think I have any UVs. You don't want to go below the stack. Never go below your UVW editor because it messes up everything. So I'm just going to collapse it to enable poly. You know, if it's going to be stupid inside of there, I just have to get rid of my, and symmetry set, so it should be just easy snap and flip, and it should be fine. But if I come back down here, I know you do my UV on. That's not what I meant. And then I come back down here and I'm going to edit. So before, what you might have had problems with is if I take this go all the way through, it's going to mess up when I move it. It's going to stretch those out. Well, there's a little button over here called Preserve UVWs. If I drag it now, it doesn't do that. And that's all I was looking to do. For this one, again, it's not really doing anything. It's just something I did across. The problem with this one is it matches right here. So I may not be able to do that one in here. What I'll do is I'll just do an R for all the way across and just cut it again. Or better yet, I'll just do it through Swift Loop. Let's cut it right there. This one, I'm just going to move, make sure UVW preserve is on. Like that. And this one's a little bit squished, so we'll fix that in a second. But now I've got them set up so they can be in their own UVs. So all I have to do is go UV Unwrap, open it back up, show this texture real quick. Probably need to have it all over everywhere. And let's take a look at this one first. Okay. So this one's squished a little bit. So we'll drag it this way. Okay. And I'm going to grab this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I'm going to break them. And then I'm just going to move them so they overlap. And I don't mind if they go inside of there in my case. I could just scale it a little bit more so it matches, and that actually doesn't bother me too much. And then I don't mind that they're off position. Like this one actually does bother me a little bit. So I'm going to go front so I can see them. Actually, what I should do, this one, and break them, and move it out of the way. Then come back to this one. Yeah, that's fine. I'm getting nitpicky. And that's what you can do. I mean, honestly, go ahead and get nitpicky if you feel like you want to. If you want to get this really set up perfect and all this stuff, I am all for it. Again, I'm doing this to give you guys a model to work from so you don't have to do it blindly, and to go through the steps of fixing any problems so you can see the problems I fix. It's just me fixing them. It's not... it's because I have a preset. There's no magic here. It's you're seeing behind the curtain. Okay, so I've got that. Now I've got something there, and you're not even going to see those. I get it, but let's do one here. Let's do this. I don't know why it's always stuck to that by default for whatever reason. And the way I used to build stuff is off to the side like this all the time. But I'm going to actually, and then the thing is, I'll find cool stuff. I'm not really planning anything when I'm doing this. I'm just kind of faking it. So that's kind of what happens when you're building this stuff. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to pull it down. And maybe, I think I like it like that. And if I don't, I can change it. But if I do, what I'm going to do is do the same thing for this one. And then rotate it again. But I'm going to do just one. And then obviously... I'm going to come up here to this one and figure out what I want. I don't know how I lost these. So we'll just do Z. And it doesn't really have to be in the perfect spot with all this junk we have here. Just need to make them line up. There. Okay. I'm going to grab these two and do a slap, and then we're going to take these two. And if I turn this off, you can see they're just all spread over. Here's the master one. We can move them over eventually, and I'll show you how to do that. But for now, and I have an aversion, is the right way to put it, to doing hide visible, hide selected. And one of the things I need to do for this one is change the UV, change the AO, and add some fill between these or something, so they don't look like just steel grates. But that's my hindsight of my. Okay. I'll grab this one. And I don't like this one on there. I'm just going to put this one as a simple little crate top there. Take this one. We'll do a quick scale it down. We'll do this one as some weird thing on here. That. Maybe a little bit more than that. How about? There, like that. Okay, so we're gonna look at this engine piece here. I'm gonna turn this off from that to this. And basically, that's all I'm gonna do for the rest of the thing. Oh, somehow I lost these guys, or I never finished them. I think I got sidetracked. Knowing me. So what we could do is we could scale this out. Actually go up to here. See how it's going across because it's tileable. And then just turn it over. And then what I need to do is finish this right there. Like that. What else? We could do these guys. I'm going to do these two as a simple my little tri crate over here. Since they're the same height, I know I can line them up like this. Scale it down. And see if I can get it to be happily fitting there. Okay. So another example on this one. I probably want to cut it. But these real quick, what I'll do before I cut them is just, come on. They're attached. You see where that one is? I'm going to break them and just maybe rotate them, scale them. I'll do the same for this one. And you can overlap these two, so we can break this one again and just do this over the top. break this one again. Go over the top of the other one so you can have some kind of organization here. It doesn't matter if they're tiling for what we're using it for. I'm going to take this one, break, and put it up here. And it's going to take a bit of time to get these down. I know it's a nightmare, but at least now you're working in a specific direction. This is how, like I said before, this is kind of how we used to always unwrap. In a theory, I mean, it's funny because when you first heard about unwrapping, the idea was that you would take your object and, actually I'm going to do this. Oh, you suck. I was hoping that it would rotate it in a nice degree for me, but it didn't, so I got a deal. And then I'll do this. We used to think, when you first read the instructions on unwrapping inside of Max's tutorials, it says, do what I'm doing here. Draw your picture, then match your UVs. But then we realized quickly that seems like a really bad way to do it. So we started doing it. We build our UVs and then use the other part as a coloring book. And this maybe, let me see. Yeah, it was inverted. So it probably means this one is 2. Yeah, so we're going to go bonk, bonk. Nope, I was right the first time. Okay. So I'm going to come through and do all of these. That's all I'm doing. I'm just coming in here, grabbing this, and there's a lot of polygons. But like I was saying, it used to be, they told us to draw it and then make the fit to the UVs. But in general, that's not the way we do it anymore. Now we do it as a coloring book, is like I say. And this really shouldn't be that big. Boom, boom. And just no, it's still wrong. There. Okay. But we don't do that anymore. So, except for these cases. And then if you get really good at this, I've seen guys just whip through this stuff because they know what to expect from there. Where everything is, they have all these trim sheets set up and they know where everything is always. So it's really fast for them to jump in here and get it all set up. But you can unwrap your whole thing this way. I'm going to show you another way eventually, but for now, I kind of like that little divot around the outside of them. Like this one's missing its there. Again, we'll just rotate it. I almost like that better. Yeah, I do. Okay. I'm going to take this one, break it, move it up here, like that. I think I like that better. Oh, you know what? If I just do this. And what you can do after you get these all set up, turn that off. go to 1. You want to make sure they all line up, right? So you just take this and you slap it there, and you take this one. Of course, I can't get to this one there, but then we'll just slap it there. Now I know they're always lined up. The only problem I have now is if they're turned over, so I know by the way they're sitting if they're facing the right direction. And I'll come back and do the bottom one there. That one's fine, and see how they all line up now perfectly? Okay. So we're going to take these two, and usually what I'll do is I'll do this at the end. So it's really fast once you get used to doing this. You're going to come in here. I'm going to find all these boxes that I want to do this to, and I'm going to put them just right there. Okay. And then I'm going to grab this one and do the same thing to all of them too. So I'm going to take these two. I'm going to do a quick one to throw it up here. Move these out of the way. And what you could do is you could do it as one fast set too. So I'll do this, move it down. Oh, you suck. Move it down here. We'll do these two, move it down here. And I know how to say UVW sucks, but yeah, there's only so much we can avoid. And if you don't have precise UVWs, it does bite you in the butt. The characters are a little bit easier. I got lucky with that way, but only because a lot of organic stuff is easier to hide problems. I'm gonna grab both those two. Hopefully, yeah. Grab them down here. And see what I'll do, since I know they're going to eventually go right on top of this one, I'll set this up before I do that. So I'm going to go here, throw this there, and break this one, and scale it up so it matches. Like this one, break it, scale it up so it matches. This one, scale it up so it sort of matches. Again, it doesn't have to perfect. This one, scale it up, and I'm going to be done after this round of stuff here. Okay, it's going to take you time. You need to figure it out, but now I can just take all of these. Suppose I figured out this is all the ones I want. Now I can do this real quick. After I set it up, all I have to do is grab these now and do a quick rotate on them, make sure they're all facing the right direction. After I get them in there, it's on a big fast, it's a pretty fast thing to do. And then I drag them back down. And again, I want to either snap them or whatever I do. There. This guy could use it too. So, that's your homework. Unwrapping this whole thing as best you can by Thursday. Because on Thursday, we're going to talk about what's the payoff for all this. Besides, obviously, using one texture map to get all this kind of weird detail on here. What is the texture? What is the map? And by the way, you're welcome to either modify this or do whatever you want. What I'll do is I'll unwrap it too. And don't forget we can also pull up relax. We don't use it a lot because we're really flat surfaces. But eventually the plan is you'll have this whole ship unwrapped, and then we're going to talk about what we're doing for the rest of it. And some of these things will be happy accidents, and some of these things won't work at all. You know? And you should be able to get super detailed little information just by taking the time to do this. You do this, you set up your UVs once, and you set up your trim sheets so they're usable. Like this right here, you know, these are simple parts. So here, one last little thing. And maybe we'll do this in class while you're working too. I don't know if I'm going to record doing it again, but I'm going to go back into the editor real quick. Like for these, let me see what they were before. All over the place, right? Yeah. So I'm going to do that little slap thing. Then I'm going to do my relax, and I'm going to try and get it to be straight. And then all I have to do once I get it straight, and I can do it this way. Yeah, this button right here will shape it to be a straight UVs. Is that I come in here and I go, okay, I want to stripe here. See how that worked right there? Or I want to stripe, let's do it this way. I'll shrink this down. Like that. And then I'm going to take this part, which I missed a little bit of it, which is fine. The more pieces you can break off, the better. And then I'm going to go break, and then I'm going to flip it and drag it over. So they line up perfectly. You see, it's all about how I haven't broken this up, but all this little detail, once I get it back in there, is going to work great. All right, and we're going to talk about how to do this, and I will have this unwrapped for Thursday as well, so I've got my homework cut out for me. And then we'll move on to how we're going to do the next stuff. Oh, interestingly, oh, I know why. Those are my other pieces. So there's 3 pieces to unwrap. You're going to unwrap all 3 of those pieces. It's take you a couple hours, and that's your homework. But once you do this once, and some of you guys are going to fall in love with this, and some of you guys are going to say, how can I do this better? I'm going to show you both, okay? And for that, I'll talk to you guys in a bit.